Welcome to the Holding Time podcast, where we share inspiring stories from remarkable mothers who participated in the Holding Time project in Bradford. Each episode, we explore their unique breastfeeding stories, the highs, the lows, the challenges and the triumphs. Whether you're expecting, a new parent, or simply curious, we invite you to hear from these resilient warrior women as they share their experiences. Find out more at holdingtime.org.
So I was breastfeeding her, and I was planning to breastfeed her for 2 years. And I knew I was pregnant again when she just turned 1. So this was coming to me about taking the decision whether to stop breastfeeding or to continue. And I felt very stressed. And because the second pregnancy, when it comes, there's a lot of guilt towards the first, especially being so young. And I felt even more guilty around. So I thought I'll continue breastfeeding her, and then I'll tandem feed them both. She won't be even 2 yet, so I'll continue with my plan. What happened is my pregnancy was quite high risk. I had complete placenta previa and suspected placenta accreta, which is a rare condition, and I was prone to bleeding or early labor. So the advice was to stop anything that would put me into early labor. So I stopped breastfeeding her when I was around 5 months pregnant. I did very gradually. What took time was the breastfeeding her to sleep at night. And I tried doing it for weeks and weeks. One day, she just slept without me breastfeeding her. And somehow, like, mourning the idea that I'm no longer breastfeeding her. But I kept saying to myself, when I have the baby, I'll offer her to breastfeed, and she will definitely, I think she will definitely take it back again. And this will be only 3-4 months from now, and because I have to have early elective C-section, and she completely forgot about breastfeeding. When I offered her again, she's like, "What's that?" No, she grew out of it, and that was somehow bittersweet for me. Like she's not a baby anymore. So
Is that one of the subjects that you've been writing about in the workshop?
yes, yeah.
I mean, it's so interesting because so many people feed a baby for a year, think that is fantastic, and have no regrets. But it's really interesting, that sort of guilt that often comes in, that you can't explain it. It's not rational, is it? It's coming from inside, and it's to do with that loss of a relationship, I suppose. Do you think the relationship between the two of you, and the fact that now you have this other child that you have to split your attention with, and all of that? It's complex, isn't it? Like loving two children when before you only had one child to love, and finding time for both of them and giving them both what you think they need.
Yes, I think it's because also her birth was traumatic.
Right.
I was completely convinced I would have a natural water birth, no medication, no epidural. I'll wait for the signs to come, no induction, no sweep, nothing like that. So and I waited till my due date, and then after my due date passed 41 weeks, 42 weeks, and then there was no signs of labor. So I said, "Oh, okay, I'll try the induction." And for 2 days, the induction didn't work, so I ended up having a C-section.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Was it painful for 2 days, or was it just sort of hanging around waiting for things to happen?
It was all right. I was in the hospital, and it was, I think, more emotionally draining, not knowing what's happening, because I'm a doctor myself, and I know that
Are
induction
you?
has, like, there's few signs, meaning like how far the baby is engaged, how far the cervix is dilated to work. And I did not have any of these signs. So I had a feeling that probably it won't work. And I asked them, is it going to work? And they said, yes, yes, sometimes you just need like a little bit more push. But then I took the decision to have the C-section and not to wait for longer.
Yeah, that was probably a very good move, I would say. Yeah. I mean, I'm not a doctor, but I've interviewed so many women who have carried on and it's gone on for days and days. And by the time the baby's born, you're so exhausted that you're in an altered state. You've been going through something that's taken so long, you know.
And I was more scared of basically like needing an emergency C-section where the
Yeah,
baby is stuck and then
yeah,
we run to, so I didn't want that. And I didn't want any instrumental delivery. So I felt it's time to decide about a C-section. And it was a Sunday weekend and we had, it wasn't the best experience, of course, meaning that I'm going in the hospital bag with like a swimming dress and lavender oil and things like this. I'm being prepared for a C-section.
yeah,
And then she needed support. So she I think the induction caused a little distress. So she needed some oxygen support when she was out. So I did not breastfeed her right away. So I had this guilt, like lingering always, that I didn't breastfeed her. And it was out of my hands.
Was she in the NICU?
So yes, she was in the NICU
How long for?
just for the night. So I was struggling to convince the doctors, nurses over there to try and breastfeed her while she was in the NICU, just a couple of hours after the delivery. So while I was in the still in the like operation theater, and they were asking me, "Do you want us to give her fluids or formula?" And I said, "I don't know. I don't want formula, so fluids." And then being out, I just learned that fluids is basically IV fluids.
Yeah,
So it was a decision that I needed to take while still at the operating theater. And I felt like everyone talks about the perfect scenario, like the golden hour, skin to skin and all this. And no one talks about when things goes in a not very straightforward and needs and what happens and how should people like that makes it made me feel a little bit incomplete experience, or as if I couldn't give her what she needs at the moment. So I thought I'll just breastfeed her for 2 years, and then I had to stop breastfeeding midway, and this was a little bit bitter for me.
can I go back to when she was in the NICU overnight? You were obviously, you came out of surgery and were in bed. Did you get to see her?
Before the anesthesia, I told him to push my bed to the NICU, and I went there and I was trying to convince the nurses to let me breastfeed her, or even try to hold her and have to skin to skin. That was a couple of hours after the C-section. So eventually, a nurse or a midwife said, yes, we could do that. We could do nasal oxygen, and then we could bring her out for you, and you can try and breastfeed her. And but like no one told me about colostrum harvesting except when I asked. No one told me about what to expect after C-section. I learned about this in medical school. It's called transient tachypnea of newborns. It's quite common for C-section babies. It's something common.
It's called what? Sorry, I didn't catch that.
TTP,
TTP.
transient tachypnea of newborns. So it's basically that a baby is born by C-section. They don't get their fluids expelled like the normal delivery. So they need some oxygen support at the beginning.
I see. Does that mean that they all need that extra oxygen, all of them? Or is it just sometimes they need that?
Not all of them, of course. So my second baby was born early. It was expected that he will probably need NICU. He didn't. He was fine. So it is not. It's not uncommon. But so when they take the consent of C-section, they talk about all the complications, mainly to the mother, and they talk about like bleed. So I did lose some blood, but I did not need any transfusion with my first. I did need blood transfusion with my second. But they don't talk about the baby that they might need some support, and they don't talk about how mothers who are keen on breastfeeding could do things like colostrum harvesting. And
Yeah, yeah,
the colostrum harvest is lying around at the hospital,
yeah.
but I never thought I would need it.
You could have done that when you were being induced for those 2 days, couldn't
Exactly,
you?
yeah, but no one
Yeah.
told me about that.
Was that at Bradford Infirmary?
Yes,
Yeah.
this was my first baby.
Oh, that's interesting feedback for Bradford Infirmary.
I had my second baby at St. James in Leeds because of my complicated pregnancy.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I mean, I think that's where they have a great infant feeding team. There's the
they
community team.
do. Yeah.
There is, but I think it's linking people to those teams. This is where the problem is. Like, I know that there. So this is what I learned in my second pregnancy. So I self-referred to every possible service, and it was helpful.
How did you do that? How did you do that research?
So my second baby, I had him at 35 to 6 days, so 35 weeks, 6 days. So it's considered premature. So I was expecting that he would probably need support. I was really keen on breastfeeding her.
Mm-hmm.
So I started Googling like on the Bradford. First, I contacted the Bradford doulas, and
Yeah,
although they don't support, active in my area in Shipley, they were still helpful. They visited me, they spoke to me about how to advocate for myself, and then I self-referred also to the community infant feeding team,
yeah,
and they were super helpful. So my little boy, he had a tongue tie,
yeah.
and for some reason it was not picked up by any of the midwives or health visitors. They said as long as he's gaining weight, it is not of concern, that it's fine.
But was it painful?
It wasn't too painful for some reason. He managed to adapt and latch.
Okay.
When I went, so the community infant feeding team, I told them about my concern, and they referred me for the assessments, tongue tie clinic. And when I went there, the midwife, who is the tongue tie expert, said it's too tough. She doesn't know how he does that. He doesn't. She didn't know how he latching and gaining weight while he had a very tight tongue tie.
Wow.
He needed to be done twice, so it needed
Oh,
to be snapped
really?
twice.
Oh,
So it was really, really tight. And she said
yeah.
that would have not only affected his latch, but also the shape of his palate. This would
Right.
have affected his speech,
And his speech, yeah.
even somehow his breathing
Wow.
eventually. It
Yeah.
was causing a lot of colic because he was swallowing a lot of air.
Wow. So really, it was very good that you caught that.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, I tried to, several health visitors and community midwives were coming and visiting, but they were not concerned because they said, as long as he's gaining weight, we cannot refer you.
Yeah.
The only reason we would refer you for tongue tie clinic is if he's not gaining weight.
Oh, it's kind of a bit of a technical point though, isn't it, really? I
It
mean,
is, and when I talked about that to the tongue tie expert, like the tongue tie midwife, she said you need to like file a complaint because the numbers that the few people who reach the tongue tie clinic and get it done there, sometimes it's not enough for commissioning to keep it going.
oh,
Like,
really?
or to
Yeah.
have, or to keep it, or actually to keep, like, it will still be going, but they need like more staff, more trained staff.
Yeah.
But since the numbers are not that high,
Yeah.
somehow,
It's really good that you went and also that you got that caught.
yeah.
So between the two of them, you've had quite a lot of stuff to deal with, haven't you? Between the two different births and the two different breastfeeding experiences. Are you comfortable breastfeeding in public in Bradford? Do you take your babies out? Yeah,
Yeah, we go out almost every day.
that's nice.
City is quite good in terms of activities for toddlers, and it's not going on.
Oh yeah. Where would you go with the two of them? Because obviously having two, you've got kind of like specific requirements, haven't you, in terms of where to go? Where is a good place to go with two young babies?
So there's the activity then. It's a newish community center. in Shipley Town Center, and they have lots of activities going on. So we do Zumba, we do mommy and me fitness.
Nice. That sounds good. I mean, do they have soft play there as well?
No, it's just an open space that is been used for different activities.
Is it like a family hub?
Sort of, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'm hoping some of the portraits will go in the family hub network. Certainly, that's sort of more and more who I'm working with because, yeah, that's where parents go, isn't it? You're only in the labour ward maybe for a day, but actually you might go to a family hub
Yeah.
every week for months on end. So even for, let's say, parents who might not have managed to breastfeed their first child, when they have their second child, they might have learned more about it. So it's kind of health education and breastfeeding promotion sort of thing.
There's a nice painting in the maternity
Yes, I
in
know,
Bradford.
it's gorgeous. Yeah, I took a picture of the infant feeding lead in front of that. It's really beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was touching for me because when I was pregnant, I was going there and I felt like, oh, I could do that because she's breastfeeding two babies and
Yeah.
all the. So I felt, oh, I could do that. So it was, yeah, I really liked it while going there.
Oh, it's amazing what is possible. But, the thing is, in your circumstance, that just wasn't to be. And like you say, the birth, the breastfeeding, it doesn't all work out how you always want it to.
Yeah,
But it's a
but
question of trying to feel good about how well you've done because you've done a great job.
so my second pregnancy was a lot more complicated, but I was open to all the possibilities. So I did colostrum harvesting on while waiting for the consultants while being prepared for the C-section.
Yeah, that's great. So you were really primed and ready.
Yeah, I had a few syringes ready for him, and we had skin to skin. Although my surgery was quite a little bit intense, but we had skin to skin, and I managed to breastfeed him right out of the operating room.
Oh, so that was a much more satisfactory start
Yeah,
to his days in the world. I wanted to go back to the NICU, the separation from your baby.
yeah,
It's nice you found that midwife who helped you to do that breastfeeding actually in the NICU. That's kind of amazing that they're able to facilitate that. Then did you go back to the labour ward in your bed? Were you wheeled back?
yes. So I was wheeled back, and in the BRI, there it's quite far away.
Yes,
It's quite a
from the
distance
NICU.
because the NICU, yeah, the postnatal ward is on like the fourth floor up. So I was keen on breastfeeding. Once I started breastfeeding, I said I want to continue doing this. So they said, but you will need to come every 2 hours or when the baby cries. So I said, I gave them my number and I asked them to call me every time she cries. And that's what I did. They rang me.
How did you get there though?
They would wheel. I would ask a nurse to push me
In a
on a
chair?
wheelchair too. Yeah,
Oh, wow.
I told them if so. They gave her one formula, but whenever she cried, I went there to feed her.
Yeah, how amazing. That's incredible. And it's really amazing to hear they supported you in that way on the labour ward, that there was
Yeah.
someone to take you every couple of hours. And were you in hospital for long?
With my first only for 3 days, with my second for 5 or 6.
So was that every 2 hours, day and night, that you were going up to the NICU?
Yeah. So she was with me.
Wow.
I asked them, so she was off the next day. So I basically went, once the sun was up,
Oh,
I just stayed in the NICU until they discharged
yeah.
her to my room.
Ah,
So they felt like, okay, she's fine. She doesn't need oxygen or anything. She's stable. So by midday, they discharged her to my room because
oh,
I had it like
okay.
a side room. So in St. James, they have like a ward called transitional care where they could have the care for both baby and mother at the same time, even if they both need extra support. So there is an IQ, but if babies are not like very unwell, they would stay with the mothers in the transitional care, which I feel it was really good.
That sounds amazing. Yeah. So it's kind of like an
Yeah.
in-between where it's a bit more extra support.
Yeah, and the NICU is in the same floor as the post in St. James. So even if they needed the baby to be in the NICU, it's not too far away.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So the mothers are really just very close to the NICU in Leeds.
Yes.
Mm. It's just an area I'm really interested in because I'd like to develop a VR version of the holding time animations for mothers whose babies are in the NICU for a duration. You know, mothers who are separated and where the baby can't be lifted out of the unit and the mother's
Yeah.
trying to express, because I think that's a really very difficult task that a lot of mothers
Absolutely.
have to do. And it obviously does massively impact the long-term outcomes of each child. But it's a huge pressure on a mother who maybe has had possibly a traumatic birth or a sudden unexpected C-section, even a planned C-section. I think it's still just so much to go through to give birth and then be separated from your baby and then have to express milk. I think it's a lot. And I'm just trying to think of ways to help in that instance,
Yeah.
using this project.
In Bradford, the location of NICU being so far away from
Yeah.
even if, I mean, in my case, my baby wasn't too unwell, just needed some support and like was under observation. That was the main reason she was in the NICU. The first 24 hours, which is the most important, if I couldn't go and breastfeed her, she would not have the chance just because being too far away from where the mothers are.
Yeah. Yeah. So they probably have responded to that in the Leeds hospital. It might be a newer hospital where they've.
I think St. James is quite old. It's a very old hospital.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah,
interesting.
it is. Yes, I mean, even I know the maternity unit in Bradford is newish. They have
It is pretty new, actually, thinking about it. The whole
yeah,
hospital's very new. Yeah, it's a very
yeah,
modern place, isn't it? So in that case, the architects that built that just didn't, or whoever put that project together didn't think much about this particular need. It's interesting, isn't it, that you would have a maternity unit and a NICU so far apart. But I see that all the time in hospitals. It's really common.
to have it far apart.
Yeah, it's really, really common, surprisingly so. And you think, how are the mothers supposed to get to their babies,
Yeah, it was very painful because first night with after C-section is very,
Yeah,
very painful. So trying to get out, get on a wheelchair and move all the way, and then out of the wheelchair to the normal chair, someone would bring the baby and trying to position for a good latch.
yeah, all of that's very tricky, isn't it? In a hospital bed
Yeah,
as well, which is not a wide
especially.
bed. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Yes. So I know, I mean, when I go to the NICU, I would just be sat on a chair, not the bed just for the first time but otherwise I'm on a wheelchair, which is even trickier, trying to
yeah,
position the baby and feed her
it's
on a
just
wheelchair.
really difficult. Yeah, that
Yeah,
is just so, so hard with a newborn. But you got there, Rana, and you did a great job, and you've got the two of them. They both look really healthy and well. It's great that you're processing that experience now through the workshops, though. And I hope that also being photographed will be part of your journey of, making sense of all of it, because
yeah,
it's a lot of experience in a short amount of time, isn't it?
it is. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm really grateful to you for sharing that experience with me today.
Lovely talking to you, Lisa. Bye bye.
And you. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Holding Time podcast. We're grateful to everyone involved in this project, including our partners and funders, Bradford District Care Trust and Arts Council England and Better Place Bradford, and all the incredible mothers and families who made it all possible. For more information, visit holdingtime.org. The link is in the episode description. Please like, follow, or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and consider sharing this podcast to help raise awareness and support for breastfeeding.